Magandang umaga, Madam Juliet Camaro, Rowena Quimado, Jacqueline Trajano, Ginoong Osman Zain, Mohammed Zain, Gaddafi Sali, Ginoong Gaddafi Sali, yes, and those are our very, very early birds for our Sunday Unfinished Revolution. Stephen Esteban is also here with us already, and Al Galang. We have a full agenda today. Napakarami po. We'll start right off the bat and deal with some breaking news and development items sa agenda po natin. Uulitin ko po dahil sa marami pong propaganda ngayon tungkol sa mga South China Sea, mga party-party ng handog, pamaskong handog para doon sa mga frontliners daw sa mga isla, mga base ng Pilipinas sa mga islands diyan sa South China Sea. Pero sisimulan po natin na paalala lang sa kanila habang kayo ay magpa-party-party diyan sa bagay niyan, diyan sa mga isla-isla na yan. Huwag niyo kalimutan that life is harder for 3 of 10 Pinoys according to the recent survey. But of course, the reality is life is harder for at least 7 out of 10 Pinoys because itong SWS, tinitingnan lang po nila yung mga nasa poverty level. But life itself is harder for so many, including the middle class and upper middle, or even the working class is having a hard time. And this will go on for the next 2-3 years as is foreseeable given the chaos being created by the Americans all over the world. Yan ay paalala din kay Anyo, whom we will discuss later on kasi ibinibintang ang division daw sa loob ng lipunan ng Pilipinas sa China, sa information daw, distortion galing sa China. In what planet has he just come from? Because it is the Americans that have been dividing not only the Philippines but the entire Asia and entire global South for the past 70-80 years, and the Western imperialists and colonialists for the past 500 years. But what can we expect of our military, generally, because we have outstanding military people, but in general po, mga tulad ni Anyo, whom we are criticizing now because of his latest statement, which is really, ika nga sa Tagalog, sintonado. After just praising him because he issued 2 memorandums or public announcements correcting his Deputy Director, Jonathan Malaya. We'll go into that later on. So paalala lang po ulit sa kanila that life is getting harder and harder and will continue to get harder because of primarily because of the return of the American impositions on the country, refocusing from economic development that the Philippines and China was pushing back to geopolitical tension building. Willie Tang is with us saying good morning. Johnny Ferreras, Nestor Bocane, Daniel Long, good morning to everybody here. Froy De Silva, bonjour, our country's interest first. Please let us share this program of choice. And on the other side, Lisa Camayo is with us, Winston So, Rosario Amansek, hello from London, Ontario, Canada. Calvin Chiang, greeting everybody here. Rowena Camado, DepEd is the most trusted, top-performing government agencies. This is something we will also discuss later on, and we must continue to promote the performance of Vice President and DepEd Secretary Sara Duterte, because ang labanan po is centering on this strategic political conflict between the Dutertes and the cabal of the Romualdez Marcos US. Gera na po talaga yan, and because the Americans also know it's their survival in the country, if the Dutertes or the independent political leadership returns to the uh, center of power in the Philippines, which will happen because the US is on the way down anyway. Fred Sanke is with us. Good morning to the patriotic team. Anong plano bukas regarding FPRD arraignment in Quezon City? Any details? Tungkol dyan po, si Kaado has been waiting, at our group has been waiting with the others also waiting for the subpoena to be issued. Wala pa daw pong subpoena, which has led me to say to Ado, mukhang propaganda lang ni Franz Castro yung mga ingay tungkol sa pagkakaso laban kay Duterte. That is the latest. We will ask Kaado to report a little later. No? John Alfante Getorino, yes, Joshua? Yeah. Meron na ba? May date na ba? May date na ba? December 4, bakit oh. Is there a news report already? Let's find it kasi kung bali-balita lang mahirap pasahan kasi sobrang maiksi naman ng notice kung 1 day lang or 2 days before, di ba? That's anyway, sabi ni John Getorino, hindi buong Cebu ay nagtitinda ng 20 pesos na halaga na bigas. Baka naman nabigyan ng pondo si Government Garcia ni Tambaloslos kaya nagkabahay na milyones ang halaga dito sa Cebu. Ganyan po ang kasalukuyang klase ng mga nagahari sa politika po natin. Anyway, El Cas is with us. Yes, GTNR, Aldo Garcia is with us. I got the book last week, sabi niya. So, congratulations. I hope you have time to pour through it. Ate Angelo, good morning. Gusto ko na magmira or mura sa kalagayan ng ating bansa. Dapat kailanganin ng RevGov para baguhin ang systems bid ng corrupt. Okay, alisin ang Congress at Senado para mabilisang pagbabago. Anisha Fontanilla, good morning. Losila Gabo, good morning sir. Happy Sunday and Merry Christmas. Maagang bati po sa Pasko. Thank you very much. Okay, so paalala, no, first item natin sa agenda. Second item, alam po ninyo may nakakalaban po ako sa Viber, sa Facebook, Diliman Book Club. Itong book club na over 10 years na po ang buhay na ako'y kasama sa pagtatatag with my elder brother Henson, ng professor dati ng UP. Pero alam po ninyo, itong book club na to, halo-halo po ang mga tao at napasukan talaga ng mga trolls, na mga dilaw at mga amboys, no? Ngayon, meron silang tinutulak na libro by Patricia Evangelista at ang Some People Need Killing. Siyempre, anti-Duterte po ito. At binabandera nila na ito'y nasa New York bestseller list, Kaado. No? Alam po ninyo, yung mga librong iyan pong tinutulak ng New York bestseller list, Nielsen list, blah, 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 basta Amerikano po. Marami pong ipinapasok po yan na hindi naman bestseller pero tinutulak ng American deep state para maging popular. Maraming Pilipinong nag-aral siyempre sa UP, Ateneo, Lasal, kung saan-saan dyan. Akala magbasa lang sila ng American books. Matalino na sila at pinagmamalaki na nila. Well, matagal na nating nabisto po yung mga yan. No? And there's so many derogatory reports about this book bestseller lists ng Amerika. Pero check tayo. Dahil dito nga, itong Patricia Evangelista galing po sa pugad ng mga witches. Sabi ko nga, witches cabal of Rappler. Mga clones po ng mga Maria Ressa at Sheila Coronel po yan. 10 taon na, 15 taon na po natin binabantayan po itong mga to. Kaya alam na alam natin. Mga writers like si Marites Dangilan Witog, meron na akong libro niya dito, Rock Solid. Bestseller din daw yan. Wala naman akong nakikita kahit isang nakaikot po. Anyway, sa fully booked Binebenta daw yan and fully booked, alam ko, associated with Terry Boy Locsin, an Amboy din na pinaka-traidor at pinaka-halimaw. But anyway, we will ask Kaado if he has any reactions to this. But I just wanted to inform people, ano, itong si Patricia Evangelista, parang si Camille Elamia na nag-interview sa akin at ginamit po ng mga Amerikano para makapagsimula sila Tariela na bumanat po sa atin. Nasagot naman natin lahat at tameme naman sila, wala naman silang maibalik, no? Na may balidong basehan. Ano? Okay, third, ito po, may nag-comment na po dito galing sa Cebu. Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia on Wednesday ordered the immediate suspension of a program allowing poor families in Cebu province to buy rice. Products were as low as 20 pesos per kilo a day after its implementation. So wala po. According to Lloyd Suarez report on the DZBB, the Sugbo Merkadong Barato program was suspended after its list of beneficiaries ballooned from 199,000 to over 300,000. Ang nag-comment po dito sa maagang mga thread po natin baka yung pondo naitabi na. At well, pwedeng idahilan na hindi na kaya ng pondo dahil dumobo yung nangangailangan po nitong murang bigas. But that is the kind of economic environment we have under BBM, under the present government and ruling class. No? Puro panloloko. Mag-aalok ng 20 pesos na bigas. Noon pa natin sinabi, imposible po yan dahil po sa kapalpakan sa agricultural policy, economic policy ng bansa. We move on. Philippines drops 3 places in Global Digital Competitiveness Index. Ayan po. So, lumalala po ang kalagayan po natin. Ang mga dahilan po dito ay masamang training ng mga digital operators po natin. Ibig sabihin, educational system po natin, ang ating internet connections, and so on and so forth. So, ito po ang mga hindi po binabandera sa front pages po ng mga balita po natin. Ito ay galing sa, I think, Business World. Business World. Hindi ko lang nailagay. Pasensya na po. Okay. Yun. Ayun. Okay. Business World, no? Tama. Business World. Okay. And of course, the Department of Education is the most trusted and best performing government agency. A survey conducted by the Okta Research showed. Importante po ito, tulad ng nasabi ko kanina in reaction to, I think, the comment from Rowena Quimado that the Education Department under Sara Duterte has been the best performing agency. Information that Kaado has been also plugging since our last 2 sessions. Kasi the competition has already begun for the next election sa senatorial. Sinong mga campaign ni Sara Duterte na tatakbo sa Senado, sino mga kakampi kay BBM para sa pera ng administrasyon para sa kanilang kampanya. Yan na po, do we go for performance or peso na corruption? Well, siyempre, ang gusto ng taong bayan, performance. And this is what we are seeing now with Sara Duterte. So we have to fight the anti-Sara propaganda na nilunsad na po ng traidor na si BBM at yung buong pangkat na mga Romualdez, and keep alive in the minds of hearts of the people who really is performing. Kasi talagang susupilin po tulad ng mamaya pag-usapan din natin yung SMNI. Si Kado, I was just saying, he's back on the screen that he has been plugging the performance of DepEd, the superior performance of DepEd under Sara Duterte. Of course, the ICC is still the issue, pero yung latest po, makikita po natin yung conflict sa loob ng administrasyon ni Bongbong Marcos, and sigurado pong may instruction galing kay Justice Secretary Remulla itong mga nasabi po ng Department of Justice spokesperson. I don't remember the name, but we can always look it up if you need. But in several headlines po, sabi ng DOJ, may mga valid argument yung petisyon na pinadala po na ni Sara Duterte sa DOJ. So iyon po ay isang uncharacteristic actually for a spokesman to be giving an opinion. But so may political content, it's pregnant with political meaning yung pagsabi ng DOJ. Even this headline from Tribune, I think, yes, the Daily Tribune, Department of Justice position on ICC unchanged. Anong ibig sabihin ng ICC? Anong ibig sabihin ng position unchanged? Mula doon sa posisyon ng panahon ni Presidente Rodrigo R. Duterte hanggang ngayon po, hindi nagbabago ang posisyon ng DOJ. So that is what it means. So politically charged po itong mga reactions galing sa spokesperson ng DOJ. It is contradicting the other people in the Senate tulad nila Risa Hontiveros, yung JB Bautistang traidor din po, and so on. But anyway, that being said, let's keep encouraging the DOJ to resist the ICC proposal of the Bongbong Marcos administration, and stick to defending the exclusion of ICC from the Philippines. Okay, dito sa issue naman ng pneumonia, marami pong kumakalat dito sa Pilipinas na pneumonia, pero siyempre nandiyan na naman ang mga amboys at mga may colonial mentality. Narinig ko sa Viber group ng community namin dito, China, China, China. Kasi po apektado na naman sila ng propaganda galing sa Taiwan, galing sa kanluran, China na naman daw ang It's all over the world. I just received a WhatsApp message from our German friend, si Markus Kluftinger. At siya ay bumisita sa Pilipinas ng ilang buwan po, itong mga nakaraang buwan. Siya ay dumalo po sa wedding ng aking bunso. Nagsaya po sila, nagbakasyon sila sa Davao, taga Zamboanga po yung misis niya. Namasyal sila sa Bohol. Pag-uwi sa Germany, tinamaan ng pneumonia. Dito nagsimula yung kanyang ubo at sipon at lahat ng simptomas. Kaya sabi niya, napulot niya talaga sa Bohol yung pneumonia niya. Now, China, China, China ba yan? He never set foot on China in this trip at all. But ganyan po ang kaharap po nating colonial mentality na napakarami at impluensya po ng Anglophone media, meaning English-speaking media. And ang Tagalog-speaking media naman natin, walang ibang pinupulutan ng mga impormasyon kundi yung Anglophone media, yung mga English media. So, even some of my closest friends sa media na pilit na maunawaan ang ating mga pinapaliwanag, ang hina din ng pick-up. Para may takot pa rin sila pumulot ng mga bagong at tamang idea. Pero ayan na naman. Which reminds us also to plug again the book of Kaado, the only book siguro in Asia na tinuturo ang Amerika as the source of the COVID-19. De Lima, at tuwan-tuwa naman si De Lima, mukhang on the campaign trail na po ngayon. Ayan, may mga standee nang pinoproduce ang grupo ni Laila De Lima, andyan po, riding on the issue ng kanyang yung Kathniel. I really don't understand that. Sino ba yung dalawang Kathniel? Anyway, basta nagiging butt of jokes na, di ba, Ka-Joso? Anyway, but yan siguro indictment o pagkokondena ng kultura natin na pinopromote po ng media po natin, ng entertainment. Anyway, naging katatawanan na itong pagkahiwalay ng Kath at ni Nielba, dalawang tao ba yan? Pero sakay po si De Lima dito. And ang suspetsyon ng marami po talagang tatakbo ulit ito to use as a cover for her case, ano. Okay, and yan, now we go to Anyo, ano. Kasi nagsalita ngayon si Anyo, which contradicts what he was saying through his memos just last week. And si Jay Tariela, tuwa, kita po ninyo yung mukha ng Kengkoy po, ano, sa bisita ni Anyo doon sa Pag-asa Island data. Ano. During the inauguration of the new building for Coast Guard Station Kalayaan, Pag-asa Island today, in Pag-asa Island, ano, Secretary Eduardo Anyo, as a guest of honor, addressed the audience and he said, quote, "I have come to realize that China's multifaceted approach includes information operations that are specifically designed to create divisions within our nation. As we strive to unite the Filipino people in our stance on the West Philippine Sea, this kind of strategy cannot be effectively countered through military means alone, but rather requires a holistic approach involving all sectors of our nation. It is critical for us to convey a powerful, united message that counters their falsehoods and unites our fellow Filipinos in this important issue." Well, we have proven Tariela wrong and all his cohorts. What we proved against Tariela is exactly the same things we addressed to Anyo. Ano, pero mukhang as usual, many of our military brass, ano, tuta talaga ng Amerikano, basta't may counting pressure. No? And we will show that po mamaya. We will have a serious, long discussion on the Reuters report on how the Americans charmed daw, courted, niligawan si Bongbong Marcos. Pero ang daming inamin po doon, nakatraidoran po ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, mga officials, ano, laban kay Duterte, President Duterte. Ano. We have questions, no? If Anyo is one of those who betrayed while in office, President Duterte. Kasi appointed din ni President Duterte itong si Anyo. Ano? Mga magaling sumingit sa mga appointments po ang mga amboys kasi that is one of their practice, ano, na ini-emplace po sila. Meron din tayong statement galing sa traidor na si Locsin, ano, dyan sa article na yan. So we will be focusing on that. Ado also has some substantive things to say about this and about Gibo Teodoro's statement na bilateral talks mean nothing, you know, with China. Well, tuloy po tayo. And alam na siguro ng lahat kung paano ginigipit ng Kongreso ang SMNI, pati si Ka Eric doon sa kanyang mga tanong tungkol sa budget for travel ng Kongreso ay iniipit nitong David Suarez ng Quezon. Mukhang anak o pamangkin, whoever he is, no? But mukhang related kay Danilo Suarez na dating congressman din ng Quezon na ayon sa mga ating kausap po doon, very corrupt po yung mga Suarez na yan. But anyway, ngayon sinasabi pati ng KBP hindi daw naaayon sa mga alituntunin ng kapisanan ng mga broadcasters ng Pilipinas. Hindi siguro member din si Ka Eric. Ako, I'm not a member of KBP. I was required by the GNN to be a member, but that is a body of very corrupt media practitioners din. Ano? Sinong niloloko nila? Ano? At hindi lang corrupt, mga bobo. Mga dakdak na lang ng dakdak sa harap ng mikropono pero wala pong alam ang laman ng mga utak po niyan. Ano? But anyway, yan po ang pinaparatang po sa SMNI at kay Ka Eric. Ano? Television network Sunshine Media Network International could face potential sanctions from the country's independent broadcasting body. That means KBP. Anong independent? Pera-pera yan. How can they be independent? No? They are tied to the pockets of politicians and drug pushers and so on. For allowing unaccredited hosts daw, unaccredited daw si Ka Eric, baka si Lorraine Badoy hindi din accredited. Why should Lorraine Badoy be accredited by KBP? She is 1,000 times more intelligent, well-informed, and morally correct than 99% of the members of the KBP. May saysay ba ang buhay ng KBP sa buhay ng bayan natin? Ang tagal-tagal na po niyan dyan. Wala po. Sabi nga dito, ulat ng Inquirer, KBP says SMNI not observing code of conduct, program host unaccredited. Ay, alam nyo kayong sa KBP, unang-una, protektahan po ninyo yung ibang mga broadcasters po. 6 na po ayon kay Paul Gutierrez ang napatay po dito. Karamihan po mga broadcasters po. Hindi ba kayo KBP kilusan ng mga broadcasters na katipunan ba? Kilusan kapisanan ng mga broadcasters ng Pilipinas. Anong ginagawa niyo? Mga walang hiya kayo, gago. Magpo-pontificate pa kayo. Utang. Utang ng inahin. In the meantime, positive news naman po, si Ambassador Juan Sillian bumisita po kay Governor Mamba diyan sa province of Cagayan, sa Tugigaraw. Marami pong proyekto pong pinaplano po diyan. So investments and so on. Alam po niyo in the end, sabi nga ni Teddy Boy Locsin, ayon doon sa Reuters report which we will discuss later on, in-advise niya si Bongbong, Bongbong, go back to the Americans and tell them to produce. So unang-una, pag-amin nyo na the Americans have not been producing any good for the Philippines, kaya natatalo ang Amerikano, and now demand ngayon na bumalik ka sa Amerikano, demand that they produce. What are they going to produce? The American economy is going into recession early next year. What are they going to produce with their allies, Japan, which is -2 sa economic growth the past quarter? And all these are going to get worse. While China, which Duterte allied with in the sense, because independent foreign policy Duterte, but befriended, that's a better word siguro, is growing by 5.2% in this last quarter. So, what is the US going to deliver? Nothing. What is the US going to produce? Nothing for the Philippines. You can mark my word on that. Up to now, since February, anong na-deliver ng US? More troubles, more tensions, more divisions in society, more divisions within the presidential family, meaning Aimee versus Bongbong Marcos sa policies. Yan ang division, anyo. But yung kanyang utak ay nandun sa anyo niya. Yung anyo niya nasa cranial cavity niya. That is what is beginning to appear to me. Meanwhile, again, good news, China and ASEAN ties, 6-nation military drills reveal China's relationship goals with Southeast Asian neighbors. Ang importante po ito, so nagkaroon ng military drill ang China with 6 ASEAN countries. Ang importante po dito, kasama ang Vietnam. And ano sabi tungkol sa Manila? Manila may be isolated as a claimant state. Yung naka-yellow po dyan, mababasa po niyo, within ASEAN, if it chooses to persist with its recent strong-arm tactics targeting Chinese interests. Ayan po. That's why I am the first to describe the situation of the Philippines as Pariah Philippines. Pariah Philippines. Iniitsapwera na ng ASEAN, dahan-dahan po yan. Tahimik lang po sila kasi there is appearance of civility. Hindi po nagbabastusan ng ASEAN members. Pero kita po ninyo nagsalita ng Singapore na ang Pilipinas ba gustong maging battleground ng US and China? Anong kahulugan po noon? Di ba? Okay. That's still part of the first set po, no? Kasi para inuulat natin yung article ni Kaado sa our website, Asian Century Journal, Fork Tongues Dominator, Androposal Foreign Policy. Nagpakitang gilas ng kanyang vocabulary si Kaado dito. Pero essentially po, kanyang dinidibang yung mga pinagsasabi ni Gibo na wala daw kwentang makipag-bilateral negotiations with China. Who are you to talk that way, Gibo? You have achieved nothing on your own in your life. Ano? And even the United States of America has to plead to have a chance to talk to President Xi Jinping. Ikaw, maghahambog kang ganyan, nahalata kang walang kalaman-laman lang na tao. Anyway, utos ng Amerikano, so pagbigyan na lang natin na makapagsalita. Si Madam Ana Malindog-Uy, ating kasama, who is now studying in Beijing, of course, also addresses that, no? And sabi niya, negotiating the tide, the vital role of bilateral talks between the Philippines and China in steering through the South China Sea dispute. Utos ng Amerikano yan kay Gibo para sirain nga ang ASEAN din yan, ano? But today, or was it yesterday? Kahapon po lang ba, Sabado, sa Manila Standard, si Rod Kapunan, binisita ko po to boost his morale kasi marami pong hinaharap na mga sakit, diabetes, malabong mata, and I negotiated with a friend, ano, to acquire a second-hand treadmill para magkaroon ng treadmill si Rod Kapunan at makapaglakad-lakad siya sa loob ng bahay regularly, ano, to bring back his stamina and vigor at age 76. Like we helped Mauro Samonte get back to life, ano. But we will see how fast Rod can recover. At mukhang magandang article po niya ngayon. Japan favors China over Israel-Palestine conflict, meaning bumoto po ang Japan with China doon sa call for a humanitarian ceasefire. Ano? Yan ang first set. Meron pa ba sa first set? Yes, that's the first set. Our second set is about the Reuters report. Nasa screen na ba ninyo? How the US courted the Philippines to thwart China. Dito po, itong mga Amerikano, maraming mahuhuli na galing sa bibig po nila, you know? And we will go through them one by one. But Kado, I gave you the floor for the reviewing all those many items that I already introduced. Kado, go ahead.
Unang-una, yung pong December 4, bukas, we wish to announce na hindi po tuloy dahil as of last verification with Harry Roque, who is the counsel of Duterte, wala pa silang na-prepare na sagot dahil wala pa silang natatanggap na subpoena. Wala pa silang natatanggap na demanda. Wala pa silang natatanggap na sugo. So, yan po. So, maaaring magmoro-moro bukas to si Francis Castro dyan sa Quezon City Prosecutor's Office. Baka bukas pala magpapail yan ng masyadong marami nakapayola dito sa ating gobyerno at saka sa media Ang husgado ho ngayon nasa trial by publicity na. So we are temporarily postponing to a later date yung ating salo-salo dyan sa Quezon Memorial Circle, Bring Your Own Baon, in support of President Duterte against this case ng isang lover ng mga teroristang komunistang grupo. So, please tell your friends who are preparing to go to Quezon City Memorial Circle tomorrow na postpone po yan indefinitely. Now, pangalawa, itong moro-moro na hearing ito si Lloyd Suarez. Ano ba ito? Ano ba ito? Hindi pala yun. Itong moro-moro ni Suarez dito sa hearing tungkol sa prangkisa ng SMNI at iba pa mga bagay ay mga moro-moro at sila'y nalunok nila ang kanilang sarili mga talampakan nung sumipot si Eric doon, si Ka Eric. At sabi nila, ginagawa, wine-weaponize ang ating kongreso against our constitutional freedoms. And there is a recourse. Ang prangkisa po ng SMNI ay kare-renew lang. Hindi ito katulad ng prangkisa ng ABS-CBN that was already suspended and was being discussed for possible renewal. So wala po sila, kung 25 years yung franchise yan, kayong mga bayaran ng, ni Martin Romualdez dyan, na nagpapakita tao pa na walang bahid ang unit team, walang division. Huwag ho kayong pauulol dyan. Ang nagsumisira ho dyan ay ang magpinsa na Bobo Marcos at yung elephant, the only elephant in the room of Congress, yan ho si Martin Romualdez, no? Tingnan nyo mabuti ang mukha, at makikita nyo, na merong paboritong dish tayo. Anyway, the most trusted agency, DepEd. Matagal ko na ho sinasabi sa inyo yan na si Sara Duterte lamang ang nag-deliver during the first year of Bongbong Marcos, and yet Bobo Marcos is not even acknowledging her for delivering the only strategic reform of our government in terms of reforming 70%. It's a complete, almost a complete overhaul of our elementary education curriculum. Ang tawag po ngayon dyan, tanong ninyo sa mga public school around where you live, ang matatag curriculum. Ano ba yung matatag curriculum? Sumunod po, itong walking pneumonia, mukhang tinabahan kami ni Mentong nung kami umattend ng isang meeting. At hanggang ngayon, I'm still under the weather. Ito naman ho, si Delima, ito ho ay babalik sa kulungan, no? Kaya wag tayong masyadong mag-celebrate with her. Actually, graduate ho ng Salveda ito, pero kinahihiya namin dahil siya lamang ang sa publiko ng kanyang pagkaburikak. My God! Yung driver niya sa garahe pa lamang. Sa testigo ng mga... Ay, nako, hindi na ako pupunta dyan. Ito naman ho si Tariela, kay Koy ng Bayan, mukhang tuwan-tuwa sila doon, dahil 5 milyong dolyares po, according to our sources, ang na-release na. And one of the project is the Christmas Convoy. Kaya matabang-mataba po ang mga bulsa ng mga ito, no? At kanina, meron akong binayber na isang commandant ng Philippine Coast Guard. Sabi ko, kasalanan mo lahat ito biro mo, na-infiltrate ka, na-infiltrate ka ng Central Intelligence Agency, hindi mo alam. Sa mukha pala dyan, hindi ko na i-hire yan. Tingnan niyo yung mukha dyan sa bandang kanan. I-hire niyo ba yan? Mukhang kengkoy. Ayun, si Jonathan Malaya sa likod nandun sa likod. Alam niyo, ito si Anyo is a classic example of the oxymoron military intelligence. Alam niyo, common joke namin yan against mga PMAers that there is no such thing as military intelligence. Why? Eh pagpasok mo pa lang sa PMA ang unang matututunan mo dun ha? Is obey the order. Ha? Complain later. Gawin mo muna ang order. Alam nyo, doon pa lamang sa labanan sa federalismo, nung DILG Secretary ito si Anyo at kanyang tutang spokesman itong si Malaya, no? Nagkabanggaan na ho kami ng mga yan tungkol sa bayanihan federalismo. Sinama ho nila, nagkamali sila, sinama nila ako sa National Task Force dahil naglabas ho ng 30 million pesos itong si Anyo mula sa DILG budget para i-finance to sell the bayanihan federalismo na output ng dalawang bobo, isang former Senate President, bobo, Nene Pimentel, at isang former Chief Justice, bobo, na si Puno, no? Dahil yung nilabas nilang federalismo, hindi naman federalismo. Kung hindi, it was not a federal form, but a unitarian form with 18 autonomous regions. Iba ho yan Hindi ko na discuss ang diferensya dyan. So sabi ko, sa NTF-ELCAC, ibalik muna kay Pimentel at kay Puno yung produkto ng consultative committee na kung saan milyon-milyon ang ginastos para sila'y mag-meeting at kumain na masasarap. Ang nilabas naman nila loose bowel movement. Ay, sus Mariosep, mga kabansa. Alam nyo nangyari. After 3 meetings, tinanggal na ho nila ako sa Viber group at hindi na nila ako inabisuhan. So I took the issue direct to Duterte. And through Martin and Danar, I submitted a position paper to Duterte. 3-pager lang ho. 3-pager. Alam nyo ba, in 2 days, nakatanggap ang DILG ng instruction from the Office of the President na ibasura na yung federalismo na bayanihan. Dahil niloloko nila ang tao. Mag-ingat po kayo sa ating mga politiko, mga kabansa. Hindi ho dahil sila'y Senate President. Sino yung Senate President natin? Si Subiri. Masaya ho yan sa litrato kasama si Victoria Nuland, yung hong arkitekto ng gera sa Ukraine. Sino ang ating Speaker of the House? Alam nyo na, kalokohan niya si Tambaluslos. Sino ating Pangulo? Ewan ko. Pag Monday, siya ang Pangulo. Pag Tuesday, nakalimutan na niya, siya ang Pangulo. Iba na ho yung statement Yung statement ni Bobo Marcos, MWF, iba sa statement niya, TTS. Are you following my drift? Huwag ho tayo magtitiwala dahil ang mga tao ito ay nasa pwesto, nagsasabi sila ng totoo. And I would like to go to itong si Gibobo Teodoro. I don't know if you can flash the screen. Joshua, humihingi ho ng sinseridad sa China. Pinakita ko sa aking programa kahapon. Bakit? Ito bang tulay? Ito bang tulay ng meron na naman ako notice dito. My internet connection is unstable. Clear ako dito. Okay, mukhang hinahack na naman ako rito ng mga demonyo dyan sa NSA. Anyway, nakalagay sa chat, pinasa ko sa chat, yan, Four tongues dominate our foreign policy. At isa ho sa mga chart na pinakita ko dyan ay yung dalawang tulay na i-donate sa atin ng China. Para ho sa akin at dapat para sa inyong mga karamihang Pilipino, this should already spell the sincerity of China over the Americans. Bakit? Kailan ho ba nagtayo ng huling tulay ang Amerikano dyan across the Pasig River? O, natatandaan nyo pa ba yan, Jones Bridge? 1920 pa ho yan. Duarto, ni-repair pa yan. Pero ni isang tulay ho across Pasig River na very important sa ating traffic management. Kaya nagkakabulbol ang trapiko sa buong Metro Manila ay dahil nga sa Pasig River going from north to south and south to north. Pero China, walang kagastos-gastos ang Pilipinas ni Singkong Duling. Nagtayo sa Binondo, Intramuros, ay pagkaganda-ganda at nagiging tourism spot pa. At dyan sa Pantalyon, Estrella. At sa Davao, nagtatayo pa. This, hindi ko na nalahati ng mga infrastruktura na tinulong sa atin ng China. Mga kabansa, dahil napakarami. In just 5 of the 6 years of Duterte. Can you measure sincerity of China in infrastructure? Ayan! Pangalawang tanong, can you measure sincerity of China in terms of trade? In terms of our exports? Ayan ho mga kabansa. China has almost 28.8 or 30% of our exports. Pero ang IMF, inihiwalay ho yung Hong Kong sa kanilang chart at hindi sinasama sa China. Pero pag sinama niyo Hong Kong, we are number 1 already at wala pa sa kalahati ang Estados Unidos. Ayun o, 28.8 ang China with Hong Kong, 15.9 lamang mga kabansa ang Estados Unidos. Ayun ang Japan, baka maunahan pa ang Estados Unidos sa 14.4. Oh, next. Hindi ba tayo dapat ang humigil ng sinseridad sa ating sarili sa pakikipagtungo sa China? Dahil dito sa next chart, ayan, makikita nyo doon sa dulong kaliwa, noong panahon na toxic ang ating relationship with China, up to this bandang gitna 2016, tingnan nyo ang exports natin. Hindi nyo ba natatandaan yan? Bakit wala man lang chart sa 2012? Eh yan ho yung Scarborough standoff eh. Nagpadala tayo ng isang pandigmang barko, BRP, Gregorio del Pilar, para mang-aresto ng mga civilian fishing boats. O ano nangyari? Wala tayong export masyado. Medyo nakalimutan ng China noong 2013 at 2014 dahil busy-busy sila mag-construct ng artificial islands. Pero noong 2015 hanggang 2016, naalala nila na tayo ay in bad faith, we sought an arbitration as a resolution mechanism for our conflicts with China. Ito ho ay isang paglaban sa communique na pinirmahan natin noong 1975-76 with China when we recognized them. Because there, Marcos and Chow En-lai agreed that the resolution mechanism will be bilateral negotiation. Again, another violation of our opting out from any compulsory dispute resolution sa UNCLOS, which China also opted out. And both of us said, bilateral negotiation. O tapos ito, dadali natin ng China sa isang arbitration. Bakit? Dahil po merong insecurity ang Pilipino. Ang Pilipino may insecurity sa utak. Wala tayong tapang na humarap na diretso sa ating kaaway. Sa ating perceived na kaaway. Kailangan lagi natin may padrino. This is a colonial mentality na tayo ay small brother, brown brother ng Amerikano. So when we talk to China, we want America in our mind. To be the third party arbiter. Hindi ba yan ang nangyari sa arbitral tribunal na sinampa natin sa Permanent Court of Arbitration, kung saan lahat ng abogado ni isa walang humarap ng Pilipino. Ang mga abogado natin puro Amerikano. Wala tayong sariling bait. Pagdating ni Duterte, tignan nyo mga kamansayan. The chart is right before you. Look at the phenomenal increase during almost 12 billion US dollars in trade dito papunta sa pakanan. In just the 5 years. Ayan poste 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ng China. Mahiya naman tayo. Tapos nagtatanong pa tayo kung sincere China sa pakikipag-usap sa atin. Kung ayaw nyo maniwala dyan, sinasabi ko na sa inyo, infrastructure, trade, and tourism are the best thermostat of sincerity, not politics, not even the personal vested interest of our very own president. So tingnan natin yung tourism. Tingnan natin yung tourism. Ano nangyari sa tourism under Duterte? Before and after Duterte. Joshua, can we show the next slide? Pagdating sa tourism, noong last full year ni Benigno Aquino, 360,000 lamang ang tourist arrivals from China. But when Duterte took over, this increased phenomenally by 500% noong 2019 to 1.8 billion. My goodness! If that is not phenomenal, I don't know what Australian rock called Sagittarius you are hiding under, Gibot Chodoro. Nangangahulugan lamang, hindi mo alam itong mga bagay na ito. Sat-sat ka lang, sat-sat dyan. Ang dami mong tsetche-bureche. Bumili ka na lang ng wig para magmukha kang telegenic dahil nasisilaw ako pag tinatamaan ng ilaw yung noo mo. I'm sorry, but I'm emotionally disturbed by this person. Trinaydor nito si Danding Kuwang ko Mismong tiyo niya. Kinupkup siya sa Nationalist People Coalition. Tapos tatakbo siya. Tumanggap siya ng appointment kay Gloria Macapagal Arroyo under the lakas kampi. Naggalit tuloy si Gretchen sa kanya. Up to now, Gretchen Kuwangko, the wife of Danding. Pag ikaw ay kaibigan ni Gibot Chodoro, huwag mo lang asahan na kakausapin ka ni Gretchen Barreto. Tuloy natin. In terms of revenues, more than $2 billion. $2 billion, that's more than 100 billion pesos in additional revenues. And in terms of jobs created, 3.6 million. Dahil yan po ang panuntunan ng DOT. every tourist creates 2 jobs. O ano nangyari? From 1.8 million, magiging 2 million ba yan this year? Magiging 3 million ba yan this year? Magiging 5 million ba yan this year? Hindi po, mga kabansa. Dahil toxic na naman ang relationship natin with China. At hindi lang yun, sinabotahin nila ang visa issuances. Under Marcos from July 2022 to June 2023, 178,000 lang ho sa loob ng isang taon ang pumasok na Chinese tourists. Bakit? Predominantly because of a DFA delay in their e-visa system. Talagang dinelay po ng dinelay na ng aking kaibigan dati na si Henry Bersurto nung siya nasa Office of Consular Affairs. No? Eh
Kado, it's
siguro
already,
para itago ito kaloko Bersurto.
Kado, it's already
Itinapon siya ng
Kado 8:58 na. So try to
tinapon si Bersurto, Kamentong. Tatapusin ko
Yeah.
lang yung sentence ko, Kamentong.
sige.
Tinapon si Bersurto sa Angola. Maraming salamat po.
Okay,
Comment.
wala namang ibang issue sa dami ng mga nakalista kanina. Baka meron pang iba. Yan na lang.
Well, I would like to congratulate Governor Mamba because alam nyo, China, kung ayaw natin ng government to government, national government to government, G2G, meron ho siyang tinatawag na B2B, business to business at people to people. And a province has and cities and even barangays have the empowerment from our laws to make direct connections. Luckily, ang China po parang federal form of government. Alam nyo ba, meron sila sa level ng munisipyo, sa level ng probinsya, na Foreign Affairs Department, so they can also make people-to-people connections. And this is what Governor Mamba is taking advantage dahil wala siyang aasahan po doon sa 2 bases ng Amerika sa Cagayan kundi maging target ng gera magkaroon man ng sigalot. Kabento.
Okay, let's go to the next main topic. And this is po yung Reuters 11-page report po. Ano, ang pamagat po, how the US courted the Philippines to thwart China. Ito po ay special report at ito po ay hihimayin po natin ang very essential issues raised by this article. Joshua, are we already posting this on our screen para makita? Okay, nandyan na. Okay, now that is the first page of that article and we'll now go to the highlights that I have chosen to report to you. So next one po, how the US courted the Philippines to thwart China. I don't know if we have the same. This is hiwalay. Okay. Ito basahin po ninyo tungkol sa Philippine Navy. The Philippine Navy, para malinaw po, also managed to scuttle plans by the Chinese-Philippine joint venture Fengxi. Actually, this should be later, but anyway, just go through the issues. Fengxi Enterprises Corporation transformed Fuga Island in the northern Philippines into a smart city with a high-tech industrial park. The remote island is located less than 400 meters from Taiwan and close to sub-sea internet cables connecting the Philippines to the rest of Asia. Remember, this is around $2 billion. Duterte agreed in principle to the $2 billion deal during the 2019 trip to Beijing. 2 billion po yan for the development of Fuga Island na aapaw po ang development dyan hanggang sa Cagayan Province, Isabela and so on dahil dyan sa multiplier effect po niyan. 2 billion. It is now 2023. No investment at all ang Amerikano po dyan. Yan. Pero anong crucial point here? the Navy, the Philippine Navy managed to scuttle plans. Sila ang Navy. I remember ang admiral noon ay si Pama. Kaya hindi ko makakalimutan yung pangalan niyan. Yung anak niyan ay kaklase ng mga anak ko sa Northfield School, no? And talagang American boy po yan. So, but in general, the Philippine Navy managed to scuttle the plan. This is what I mean. With the Americans present in our military establishment, talagang sisirain po nila ano mga plano ng Pilipinas para gumanda po ang ekonomiya at buhay po ng Pilipino. Next one, Joshua, that you prepared. Again, on the issue of betrayal by the government people itself, senior government officials in 2019 killed efforts by the Chinese companies to take over a shipyard in Subic Bay, a former U.S. naval base in the Philippines that closed in 1992 after Manila terminated a basis agreement with Washington, and which Washington abandoned, destroyed all facilities that remained. Winasak po ng Amerikano po yan. Now, itong opportunity with the Chinese shipbuilding company was a chance of a lifetime. Kasi China is now the world's greatest, biggest shipbuilders in the world. I think today, maybe if I recall my figures correctly, 40% of all ships are being built by China now sa buong mundo. But what happened? Jose Manuel Bay Romualdez, the Philippine ambassador, remember this is Reuters reporting this, to the United States, said he hustled to find an American buyer instead. In 2022, Cerberus Capital Management, a New York-based private equity firm that has invested in defense contractors and national security assets, paid $300 million for the shipyard, which up to now has no development at all. May land dispute po dyan. But the point again is, it is Filipino elements in the government sabotaging the development projects of the government itself. Next one, Joshua. Reuters also learned of efforts by some senior Filipino military and government officials that successfully stalled moves by Duterte to shred the U.S.-Philippine security alliance. The reporting also sheds light on Marcos's calculus about the risk of aligning himself too closely with China. Itong highlight. Duterte's pro-Beijing stance was unpopular with the Filipino public, which is a lie. That is why we can show that by during the exit of President Duterte's presidency, 80% ang popularity niya. How can the president be that popular if his pro-Beijing policy was unpopular? This is an outright lie. But anyway, Anyo's face is there, no? Failed to produce daw as much Chinese investment as he planned. What do you mean failed to produce? Kaado just cited all the other projects, hindi nga kalahati sa mga projects na nabanggit ni Kaado no? Nandiyan ang Chico River Dam project that some people from Cordillera just talked to me about dahil gusto nilang i-expand po yan. There's no talk about it now, and development has stopped. Phase 2 has stopped. Again, sabotaging our development with Filipino government elements assisting the Americans in sabotaging us, no? And didn't stop territorial disputes between the two nations. Hindi naman talaga mag-i-stop ang territorial disputes. Continuing negotiations yan meron bang tumigil na dispute between Denmark and Canada doon sa kanilang disputed Christmas Islands and so all over the world? Yung Hawaii ba, tahimik na dahil na-take over ng Amerikano? Hanggang ngayon, nagre-rebelde pa po yung mga elemento po sa Hawaiian local citizens and leadership. Ang pag-aayos po ng a compromise with sharing and resolution through dialogue, no? But anyway, and so okay, yan ang mga projects po ni Joshua has already started listing. These are 24, if I'm not mistaken. New Hope, dahan-dahan. Let's just select some to read. 2019, the China approved Philippine coconuts to enter the Chinese market. Let's scroll down further. Okay. Well, anyway, marami po yan. I don't know which one to read. No? Napakarami po. The Philippine Sino Center for Agricultural Technology, PhilSCAT, is another fruit of the strong ties between the Philippines and China. The donated 4 million pesos worth of 4 million fertilizers to the Philippines in March of 2022. And so 4.3 billion Chico River Pump Irrigation Project. I mentioned that already. And so on. Basta marami po yan. Ano? So, and anyway, next item from the Reuters report. Meron pa ba? Ito finally. From the Reuters special report again, Locsin, the former Philippine foreign minister, who is now ambassador to the United Kingdom and the president's special envoy to Beijing. Also the advocate for the murder of Palestinian children. He credits Marcos for learning from the missteps of his predecessor, Duterte daw. Yung Locsin, yan ang klaseng mga tao na Philippine elite is made of. Mga traidor talaga, mga walang hiya. In-appoint na nga ni Duterte, tatraidorin pa. Tapos pagmamalaki pa pagkatapos. While Duterte's efforts to ally with China shocked the United States into paying more respect. Yan po, no? Paying more respect to Filipinos. Kasi meron tayong kaibigan sa active military po who have been talking to us regularly and sabi niya, mga bastos yung mga Amerikano. Nung panahon lang ni Duterte, nagpakita ng respeto yung mga yan sa ating mga Filipino military officials. Now, ngayon, i-attribute nila kay Bongbong, gago sila. Anyway, they delivered neither the riches, sabi ni Locsin tungkol sa Amerikano. They delivered neither the riches nor the security his government is hoped for. Well, of course, this is another distortion by Locsin, Kaado, and we just showed the riches that China has brought to the Philippines and the security his government hoped for. Well, the security nagsucceed ang mga anti-drugs and so on and so forth. Now, this is the important part. Marcos wasn't going to repeat the experience. So then what's the only answer to that? Locsin said, turn to the United States and tell them to produce. And as I've said in my preamble this morning when nagsimula ang programa natin, how can the US produce? What have they produced since over a year now from Febrero this year? Was it this year? Yes, February. Almost a year now. What have they produced? What real goods for the Filipino people to benefit from have they produced? They produce some military donations. Is that for the Filipinos good? What? They have made the South Koreans donate some Coast Guard ship. That's someday, I hope, the Philippines can use that against the Americans. You can say that is something good. But what else? Any economic benefits? Any livelihood benefits? Nothing at all. And Locsin is, of course, going to be proven wrong 5 years from now. The U.S. cannot produce anything to give to the country. As we know today, the continuing decline, precipitous decline of the American economy and its allies like Japan. Now, part of this issue, of course, is what the Americans are doing in the Philippines. And we have already started explaining Project Muse, the inspired move according to the formulators of this project. And huli na po natin galing sa mga publications po nila, yung team, 12 po ang team nitong Project Muse na gumawa din po nitong project na Pamaskong Handog, na project po ng mga nakatagong mga amboys, meaning closet amboys, sila Ed De La Torre and so on. I'm meeting some people po 2 weeks from now to ask talaga itong mga ito na mga makakaliwang hilaw, na mga dating tao ni Joma, naging legal, naging cabinet or government officials po, panahon ni Estrada, etc. etc. Ano ba talagang gusto niyo? Kung magka-Amerikano kayo, sabihin na po ninyo. But anyway, you will see on the right row, no? Raymond Powell ang nakalagay po diyan, Project Mushu team leader. Yan si Raymond Powell diyan po sa kanan, no? Mako po yan. Yan po ang constantly alalay po ni Tariela, ano. At ito po kasama po sa programa ng US Naval Intelligence, ano, and sa kanilang project na Gordian Knot Center sa
Mentong,
yes, Kaado.
hindi alaalay, handler.
Handler.
Handler ni Tariela yan.
Yeah. So maybe next week we will have a media forum exposing all this. But of course, ang ating mga kasama dito sa ating Sunday program are the first to see this and to hear about this. One of the sub-projects po ng Project Mushu ay itong Sea Light, itong website po na kung saan nilalabas yung mga projects po nila, yung mga activities po nila, again led by Raymond Powell. And Sea light up the maritime gray zone. Basically, ang strategy nila, gagawa sila po ng mga insidente using the Philippine Coast Guard. Ngayon, we're using Filipino civilians with the Philippine media na mag-provoke po ng insidente sa Chinese Coast Guard na alam naman nila lahat talaga for the past 30 years have been exercising sovereign control. So hahamunin nila, siyempre, kailangan mag-aksyon. Challenge and response, mag-aksyon ng China, but with the civilian ships, Coast Guard ships, and civilian volunteer fishing boats and vessels to conduct blocking operations within the rules of the Anti-Collision Convention or Collision Convention na tinatawag. Paano nagagawa ng China yan without violating the collision conditions? By using many ships and boats and very fast boats and ships. So nakakaharang po sila without overtaking anyone, nauunahan po. Kaya yung huling allegations about the so-called collision, halatang-halata sa video na in-overtake po, nagdahan-dahan po kasi na-block na ng Chinese vessel in-overtake, nagpabilis po yung inupahan na maliit na ship ng Philippine Coast Guard, nagpaspas po siya para maunahan, tapos nag-cut siya, which we have shown. Even the Rule 15 ng Collision Convention, bawal. Dapat tumigil na siya. Palalabasin naman ng Amerikano at ng mga Philippine media and so on nagkaroon ng collision. Hindi po nagkaroon ng cutting ng Filipino-hired private vessel ng Philippine Coast Guard. But anyway, that's another matter. So we've seen and exposed all these operations ng Project Mushu. Now they are advancing, the Americans are advancing their operations. Now they're providing, dito po from Nova News, American News again, na military. Philippines, US, according to the Philippines now, the US provides advice on repair of outposts in the South China Sea. But actually po, medyo may padrama po ang headline na to. Actually, sabi po dito, in particular, they are trying to establish how long, advice lang po, evaluation lang po ng situation ng BRP Sierra Madre. How long the wreck of the Sierra Madre, a ship deliberately stranded by the Philippines in the disputed Spratly Atoll in 1999 and used since then as an outpost with a permanent military garrison. How long it will survive without repairs structurally. Yan po. But of course, we have to coordinate this with the advice on US on the warship repair on the China claimed atoll. That's the next image po. But hindi ko na nasama po yung but again, reminder po that this is also part of the plan of the Americans to use the Sierra Madre as forward operating base Sierra Madre, as an offensive operating base of the Americans, kasama po ng network nila ng base militar na 2 sa Cagayan Province, isa sa Isabela, yung sa Palawan, at yung 5 dati pang old EDCA bases. Now, yun, i-post na po ni Ka Joshua yung War on the Rocks article, It's Time to Build Combined Forward Operating Base Sierra Madre by Hersinger. Hersinger is part of the team po ng Project Mushu din. Okay. So again, this latest project po ng Project Mushu ay itong pamaskong handog, ano? Led by sila Ed De La Torre, Risa Hontiveros, sino-sino pa ma. But yung mga usual suspects na boys and girls. And may report ang ating kaibigan sa Manila Times, Franco Barona, about the Philippine Coast Guard being overwhelmed by outpouring of support and donations from civil society for its troops deployed in the West Philippine Sea. Siyempre, with $5 million, ano bang mabibili po dyan? Napakarami po, no? But anyway, that's still good. We're happy that they will get all this. Wag lang po maloko at malinlang ang taong bayan na it is out of the goodness of the American hearts, no? Through the hypocrites in Philippine society like sila Ed De La Torre. The Philippine PCG spokesman Rear Admiral Armando Balilo, ngayon siyang spokesman na naman, hindi po si Tariela. But he said that the Commandant Admiral Ronnie Hill Gaban has expressed his gratitude on behalf of the men and women of the organization for the generosity of non-profit organizations who are profiting already from this, no? PRRM, etc., no? And private stakeholders who continue to offer Coast Guard personal gifts, essential goods, clothes, and medicine. Okay. But again, pumasok po ang totoong interest po ng mga anino sa likod po nitong mga project na kasabot po kakosa ng mga Amerikano. Manuel Pangilinan, ano? Dito sa akin at hindi atin ito, kundi akin ito campaign. Okay. That's good. Thank you. Ka-Diyos. Anyway, it's the right thing to do, sabi ni Pangilinan. Pangilinan backs Marcos in asserting rights over West Philippine Sea amid China tensions. Actually, in 2014, we have already shown the ABS-CBN report headline na Manny Pangilinan offers sprat lease to China. Akala po hanggang ngayon po nitong si Manny Pangilinan, kanya ang sprat lease. It is for him to give away to China. Pero China said no. China preferred to talk to the Republic of the Philippines, but apparently so many anay and bukbok sa loob ng gobyerno po ng Pilipinas ang pinipigilan po ang asenso po ng bayan natin at ng kumita ng daan-daang bilyong dolyares through joint venture with China. So that is the portion, but this is of course part of the entire program pa rin. The next one, Philippines-France begin talks on visiting forces deal. This is part of NATO in Asia na pinaplano po ng Amerika, na tinutulak hanggang ngayon ng Amerika, which will come to naught. Ibig sabihin po, wala pong mangyayari po dyan. The French economy, like the German economy, like the European economy, is like the US economy and the Japanese economy on a nosedive. But more than that, nakikita po natin sa Europa po, and France will be affected, of course. The politics is turning to the right. The latest, of course, is the Netherlands, where how do I pronounce the name? Geert Wiener, something like that. Rightist po ang nananalo sa eleksyon. And so there will be turmoil in NATO countries, in the European Union. Meanwhile, the good news is in Asia po, even Vietnam is working with China. Ito po ang latest news from Global Times. The Chinese Coast Guard and Vietnam Coast Guard ships conducted a maritime patrol from Wednesday to Friday in the Beibu Gulf or Tonkin Gulf waters to further enhance their cooperation in maritime law enforcement. This was the second patrol of 2023 and has set an example for maritime law enforcement cooperation in the South China Sea. So, kabaliktaran po ng nangyayari po sa Pilipinas na ang Amerikano po ang kakosa. Even Vietnam, the staunchest and the biggest claimant po sa South China Sea, islands and territories, is working with China, which it has a dispute with. But that does not pose a problem for their cooperation. Because, of course, Asians must stick together to end the colonial era of the Western powers in our region. Ayan po. Am I already at the end of my mukhang naubos ko na lahat ng aking mga naihanda, no? Okay, good. Anyway, let me just thank first of all si Rowena Quemados through Messenger po, nagpadala po siya ng 300 pesos ulit almost every week. Thank you very much for supporting us, Madam Rowena Quemado, for your fervent support for our efforts dito po. Kaado, before we go to the raffle at 9:45, 9:45, we have a lot of time actually for you to raise other issues. But I will just also read. Yes.
I would like to start with the PCG spokesman, Balilo. Admission of graft and corruption ongoing now sa Philippine Coast Guard. I will read it carefully dito sa pinost ninyo. Civil society support overwhelms PCG. The Philippine Coast Guard was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and donations from civil society for its troops deployed in the West Philippine Sea. All right. But further down, PCG spokesman Rear Admiral Armando Balilo said Commandant Admiral Ronnie Hill Gavan has expressed his gratitude on behalf of the men and women of the organization for the generosity of non-profit organizations and private stakeholders who continue to offer Coast Guard personnel gifts, essential goods, clothes, and medicine. Ayan, kailangan bantayang mabuti yan dahil inadmit na nila na merong at least may mga nangyayari ng palitan. Alam niyo mga kabasa, this is against Republic Act. Ano bang Republic Act yan? 3009 yata. This is graft and corruption. Kung meron kayong gifts, ay ipasa ninyo sa DSWD. Ito pala, 319, not 3009. Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Hindi kayo pwedeng tumanggap dyan. Gaban. PCG Commandant Gaban. No? Ng mga donasyon directly. Dapat yan iproseso nyo sa DSWD, which is the only branch of government that is authorized to receive these donations. Of course, hindi na magkakahalataan kung pera yung tinatanggap nyo dyan, no? Pero alam nyo, saan kayo nahuli? Sa sarili nyo bunganga, katulad ng isda, sa nahuhuli isda, sa bunganga. Ito ay paglabag. Alam mo kung minsan, ito mga ito, dahil akala nila, suportado na sila. Sinasabi na sa inyo, huwag kayo makikinig dyan kay Tariela dahil yan ay insertion ng Estados Unidos at Japan dyan sa sistema ninyo. And I have proof of that. Na yan ay he is the embodiment of modern day traitor. ang next na gusto kong komentaryuhan ay babalikan ko itong sinabi ni Ed Anyo. No? Asa na ba yung sinabi ni Ed Anyo? May sinabi si Ed Anyo na inano natin sa ano eh. Ha? Sa hindi yan. Yung sinabi ni Ed Anyo, ito ho, sinabi ni Ed Anyo, no? China is creating divisions among Filipinos amid tensions in the West Philippine Sea. National Security Advisor Eduardo Anyo said Friday. Ito po ay news ng GMA Integrated. Abay, China pa ang lumalabas na naggugulo ngayon. No? In his speech, Anyo noted China's bullying and harassment in the West Philippine Sea has brought about a resurgence of patriotism among Filipinos. Ewan ko kung saan niya binabase ito. Dahil according to the survey of Pulse Asia, only 7% of the people support their activities there. Ha? At meron din kami pruweba dyan, the Pulse Asia September survey, where 93% of the people are showing a resurgence of patriotism on economic issues. Not this sovereignty, I will continue. He lamented, however, that due to limited release of information in the previous years, many Filipinos has doubted the reality of Chinese harassment towards our fishermen, including our personnel. Aba, iniinsulto niya rito si Hermogenes Esperon as being incompetent. At saka naman nakakita ng limited release of information sa National Security Council. Kayo ang mga truth verifiers ng presidente dyan. Ha? Alam mo, Anyo, you don't even know what agency you are representing. Bobo ka. Nagkamali ka dahil I took an orientation from the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency in 1969 when I accepted a position to be hired by the Office of the President. And in 2001, when I accepted to be consultant to the Secretary of Agriculture. Ano sinasabi? That only 10% of your sources of information is covered, nakatago. 90% is overt, open source, dyaryo. Ha? Ano sinasabi mong limited? Iniinsulto mo si Esperon, who is your senior in the Armed Forces of the Philippines? Hoy, Ed Anyo, gising! Ha? And in effect, this 90% information that is available to the public as well as you doubted the reality, including your own personnel sa National Security Council? Hello? Are you thinking correctly, Anyo? Pero ito ang pinaka-boboistic na sinabi niya. Anyo said, he is anticipating China's behavior to change. At pinalalabas pa niya, the Philippines is ready to meet it. I have never met Grabe ito, Mentong. This guy is funny. He's a clown like Tariela. Pareho na sila nagbubulahan. Why?
Yes.
On March 7, 2014, dinefine na ho ng China ang bottom line niya dyan. At this is recorded in the Arbitral Award paragraph 1122. Ano sabi? China would never accept the Philippines occupying Renai Reef under any circumstance and in any form. Why? Because this is a sovereignty issue. This is in their laws. It is by China laws that China is enforcing itself in the South China Sea. Ito ang warning na binigay sa Pilipinas as early as 9 years ago. If the Philippines chooses to ignore China's major concerns and resolute objection, insists on construction, this would severely violate China's sovereign rights, push the China's bottom line, and severely undermine the declaration of conduct, the peace and stability in the South China Seas. China will not sit idly by and tolerate. We will take resolute measures and actions. There will be further damage. Saan nakalagay? Further damage to relations. And all consequences will be borne by the Philippine side. Ayan, very clear. Recorded pa dyan sa pinagmamalaki niyong arbitral award, victory nyo. O victory ba ito? Bottom line, red line yan ng China. Just like Taiwan. Kayong mga nagmo-monitor nitong programang ito sa National Security, sa Office ng National Security Advisor. Itatak ninyo ito sa bungo ninyo. China will not give an inch. So itong pipe dream ni Anyo, he is anticipating China's behavior to change. At tapos Philippines pa is ready to, kalukuhan naman to. Susulat lang kayo ng speech, ng bombola pa kayo. This is a red line sa China. And if Taiwan is a red line to China, they are as resolute as this. And presidents in the Philippines can change. But China's foreign policy, China's red lines according to its own laws that they are only enforcing, will never change unless they change their own law. So, pero ano ang attitude natin? Dito ako nasusukay. Dito sa attitude natin. Ano ang sabi ng mismong undersecretary ng Foreign Affairs natin dito, tungkol dito? Babasahin ko sa inyo mga kabansa. We are being asked to give prior notification each time we conduct a resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal. Alam mo sabi ni Teresita Daza? We will not do so. Oh, who is creating the conflict? According to the Arbitral Award, paragraph 1198, ano ang root ng disputes? The root of the disputes presented by the Philippines in this arbitration lies. Item number 1. Not in the intention on the part of China or the Philippines to infringe on the legal rights of the others, but rather has been apparent throughout these proceedings Number 2, in fundamentally different understanding of their respective rights under the Convention in the waters of the South China Sea. Ano ibig sabihin? Ano ibig sabihin? We will not do so? Ginagawa ka na ng sinungaling ni Voltaire Gasmin, Teresita Dase. At kayo, yung buong Department of Foreign Affairs, sinungaling kayo dyan. Because in May 29, 2013, Defense Secretary Voltaire Gasmin assured the Chinese ambassador to China, Ma Keijing, on BRP Sierra Madre at Ayungin Shoal. Anong sabi ni Voltaire? We will not violate the agreement not to construct new instructions. Why? Kasi China, despite its red line, has already met us halfway. Okay, papayagan namin kayo. Hindi nyo maalis yung barko nyo for the meantime para wag mamatay ang mga tao nyo dyan. Papayagan namin kayo magdala dyan ng mga humanitarian necessities, food, medicine, and other na kailangan nila para mabuhay sila dyan, para hindi sila magahol, hindi sila magutom, hindi sila mamatay. Ano sabi ni Gasmin? We told them we're only bringing supplies for our troops there, like water, food. And ano pa isa agreement? Rotation of troops. Pwedeng magpalit ng troops. But hindi pwedeng mag-construct ng new structures. So ano ito sinasabi mo, Teresita Dasa? Quote, the Philippines has not entered into any agreement abandoning its sovereign rights and jurisdiction over the EEZ, including in the vicinity. Sinama mo pa, including in the vicinity of Ayungin Shoal. Ay nako, Teresita Dasa. Ako'y naniniwala dahil binasa mo ito sa telebisyon na ikaw ay naniniwala na totoo ito. Kung hindi ka naniniwala rito, ikaw ang nagbubukang tanga sa publiko. Dahil bumabasa ka ng isang statement, na hindi ka naman naniniwala. Pero kung naniniwala ka dito, talagang palubog na talaga yung Department of Foreign Affairs mo. Bakit? Dahil hindi ito totoo. Ito ay kasinungalingan. And you are, the DFA right now is standing on a foundation of sand, not rock. Masyadong sa buhangin kayo nakatayo. So yan ka, Mentong, no? In such a circumstance, ano ang sabi ng arbitral ruling? In such a circumstance, the purpose of dispute resolution proceedings is to clarify the parties' respective rights and obligations, and thereby to facilitate their future relations in terms in accordance with the general obligations of good faith that both governments unequivocally recognize. It is the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, by virtue ng katraidoran ni Bongbong Marcos sa kanyang pakikipagsayaw sa mga Amerikano, has brought us to this despicable state where we have, where he has as a government set aside the economic interests of the people, which the people support 93%. Says, ito ang aming national interest, economic and social order. Pero kayo, you are fighting the Marcos War of 7%. The People's War is elsewhere. Kayo, mga traidor, kayo, ang mga dapat ilinya against the wall at barilin ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, who is supposed to be the protector of the people of the state according to our Constitution. Pero ano nangyayari? Kasama na sa sindikato ngayon ng military. Ayan ang report ng Reuters, nagpapatunay. Ha? Na sa military, nagsisimula mismo ang problema. Bakit? Hindi na tayo uusad. Meron tayong saligang batas na sinasabi ng karamihan, obsolete na. Pero hindi magalaw ni period. Bakit? Because Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, who are mostly the people benefiting from the dissonance created by the very Constitution that we have now, are the ones protecting the perpetuity of this disease called the Philippine Constitution of 1987. Foreign investments cannot come in because of economic prohibitions. We cannot have a joint seismic memorandum of understanding. We cannot have a joint according to Traitor Locsin. We cannot have a joint oil and gas because the Constitution prohibits us. Yan ang kanyang opinion. Kaya sinabutahin niya yung deal natin with China. O ano pa? Ano pa silbi ng lecheng Constitution na yan? Mga sundalo kayo. Barilin nyo na yan. Butasin nyo na yung papel na yan. Hindi na. It is not the President who is in cahoots of the United States. It is not Congress that is supporting its own vested interest so much they get more money supporting the oligarchs than the common tao. Nobody is protecting the people and the state. We are in a state of disrepair, incoherence, dissonance, far from progress. When dapat we are taking advantage of what we have now, opportunities, and our closeness to China, who is now the only superpower that is capable of supporting us. Wala nang iba.
Okay, Kado, pwede nang magpahinga ang vocal cords mo for a while. It's now 9:44 going on 9:45. And let's check if we can already have our raffle. And after that, we'll continue with our discussion. Ka Joshua, how is it now? Pwede na, ready na. Yan, marami-rami naman ang sumali na po. So, there are still some requests of delayed deliveries po, no? So we'll take care of them. Pero marami na pong lately na feedback tayo na natanggap na po yung mga panalo po nila. So we'll just keep following up. Okay, let's click to spin the wheel. And let's see who will win. Which book ang gusto nating i-major prize today? Si Algalang ulit. Hindi, lumampas. Si Noel Rojas, a new name, a new winner. Si Ka Noel can have a choice. Please text po di Ka Joshua. Either the book of Mauro Samonte, China, The Way, the Truth of and the Life, or Ka Ado's book on the latest book, ano yung pamagat, The Poverty of Power and the Power of Poverty. We have received new supplies po nitong dalawang libro. So pumili ka kasamang Noel Rojas. And so for our anong tawag dito? Consolation prize, let's spin again. Okay, and now we have Atik Angelo. Atik Angelo has won the consolation prize. I will give you a choice of consolation prizes. The Book of Arnis by Rio Zablan, or the short story of Ongpin, yung title po, Ongpin. No? Okay, text na lang si Ka Joshua. By the way, I have already collected 2 Huawei watches for raffle for Christmas. I'm still collecting 3 more para makapag-5. But Ka Joshua, I'm wondering how we can also help the 62,000 subscribers natin join in Paano kaya? Pag-isipan natin para mas masaya at maraming makasali. So let's go on with our discussion. Now, I think I just want to stress, kaado ulit, no, that there are so many elements that are treasonous sa loob ng ating military, and we have the evidence to show already. This should really be brought out to the public, no? Kung paano sinabotahin nitong mga to ang administrasyon ni Duterte and of course Teddy Boy Locsin. Of course, right now these amboys feel that they are in charge of everything in the country, and totoo naman, they are in charge. They're in charge of the media, they're in charge of our economy, they're in charge of our power, electricity, infrastructure, water, and so on. They're in charge of our DFA, they're in charge of everything. Kaya sometimes I feel that maybe only a war that like Ukraine, a proxy war, the US will use the Philippines in, and of course, like Ukraine, the Philippines will also be clobbered, no, and lose, will change the situation for the Philippines. But however, that is a problem because like Ukraine, we might be completely destroyed. Given that, I am also reminded that I have friends who are communicating with me, retired, reserve, and active military officers who are on our side, who see what we see, who also protest in their hearts the subservience of many military officers to the Americans. One of the arguments raised by the Reuters report, no, na sinasabi ay may 4 million Filipinos daw in Amerika, kaya po marami daw mga may kamag-anak po dyan dito sa ating military and na may maintain ang kanilang loyalty to the United States, which is of course something wrong. There's something very wrong there. They are American citizens already. If they're in the American military and they are ordered to shoot Filipinos, they will shoot and kill Filipinos. Like what they're doing now, they're ordering our many military officers, active military officers of the highest rank, to betray the country by pushing these proxy war preparations, by pushing the conversion of BRP Sierra Madre to a forward operating base of the Americans, by installing and allowing all these bases and collaborating to filter in or smuggle in eventually nuclear weapons dyan. Sabi po dito may balita po galing sa kay Ka-Adyoso Justin, 3 patay habang siyam ang sugatan sa pagsabog sa Mindanao State University Gymnasium sa Marawi. Marawi na naman, ngayong linggong umaga and so on. So, Amerikano na naman ba ang nagtutulak nitong gulo dyan sa Marawi? Well, we will have to check on this in the next few days kung ano bang detail. Actually, nabalitaan ko na po yan kaninang madaling araw, pero dahil kabago-bago lang balita, hindi ko po muna inulat po ito. No? So we will see. So, Kaado, given this situation where our government is so riddled with traitors, who are calling others traitors, but they are the very first traitors, anong gagawin natin sa bayan na to? May sagot ka ba?
Wala nga eh. Kaya nga overdue na yung unfinished revolution na yan eh. Nagsimula yung unfinished revolution na yan, panahon pa ni Marcos Sr. Marcos Sr. was trying to revive yung Filipino ideology based on certain principles na hanggang ngayon nakatanim sa utak ko. Political liberation, economic emancipation, and social concord. Oh, may political liberation ba tayo naganap? Wala. We thought by taking out Marcos and bringing in Cory Aquino, a lot of the people thought that it was a political liberation on the part of the Cory Aquino people. Eh, ano nangyari for the past 30 years? Lahat ng reforma. Dapat, hindi na nila inalis yung mga reforma ng matandang Marcos, tinuloy na lang na, hindi eh. Hindi naman yan ang disenyo ng Amerika eh. when America took full control of our political forces, when Marcos was taken out, they took advantage also of revising our economic emancipation para sirain ang ating ekonomiya. Kaya nga, classic tayo, Mentong eh. We are, I don't know of any other country that, like the Philippines, has emerged from an agricultural economy to a service economy without passing through industrialization. Why? Why? Because ang naging industrialization natin is privatization, liberalization, importation. Huwag na tayo mag-produce. Let the other countries be our factory at mag-i-import na lang tayo. O hindi ba yan na nangyayari ngayon? Kaya nga, hindi ba resolve ni Bongbong Marcos ang ekonomiya natin? Dahil itong si Ben Jokno is fond of importing and is anti-agriculture. May statement yan before na we don't need agriculture now, all we have to do is import. So wala tayong industry. Anong industry natin? Call center? Service industries yan eh. That is not in support of wala. Do we have a steel mill? Do we have a copper smelting plant? Do we have wala nga eh. Wala nga magtayo na negosyo dito dahil ang mahal ng ating kuryente. So, walang political liberation, walang economic emancipation, social discord. The distance between the rich and the poor is widening. And they only cure it by means of ayuda. Yung kanilang PPP. To be able to, in a macro, pag nakita na nila na, wow, distorted ang ating figure dahil walang perang gumagalaw sa ilalim. Lahat ng pera nasa itaas. Lahat ng pera na kay Aboitiz, 27 billion in profits, 20 billion in loans mula sa LD, Land Bank of the Philippines, na kay Rason, 15 years extension ng Maalampaya, na kay sino ito sa San Miguel Corporation, et cetera, nasa mga oligarchs ang pera. Doon lang bumaakit sa taas, hindi bumababa. Pag distorted na towards the end of the year, magbibigay na sila ng PPP, ayuda, lalo na doon sa mga walang trabaho. Yung walang trabaho, yung paayudahan mo, hindi magiging productive yung pera mo. So, yan, para balance yan. Kaya ngayon daw, ang poverty line natin, naniniwala ka ba kami ito? Na ang poverty line natin ngayon ay nasa 18% na lang daw? Maniniwala ka ba?
Of course, I don't. Dahil alam natin ng reality, nakikita naman natin, narinig natin ang daing ng maraming tao, mga request for assistance.
Classic example kami ito eh. Yung 500 piso ko, hindi na tumatagal ng isang araw ngayon eh. I am poor. I am somehow, meron akong pinagkakakitaan. Okay, nagbebenta ako libro. Nag-a-appear ako sa mga ibang shows that offers me talent fees. Okay. Pero at the end of the day, kulang na kulang. So I am poor because my needs precede my capacity to pay. Technically, I am poor. So, ako yung 19%. Ako yung pag 19%. Si Mao, pag 20%. Si Rod Kapunan, pag 21%. Ganyan lang. Simple lang ho, mga kabansa.
Okay.
Let us use our common sense and work towards an unfinished revolution. Hanggat hindi tayo nagigising, we deserve the country in its present state.
Okay, and so now we understand why President Duterte had failed in some aspects of the goals that he set for his government, no? betrayal by elements of the armed forces of the Philippines, by the Philippine Navy, by the Philippine officialdom, by the Department of Foreign Affairs, particularly its secretary at that time, si Teddy Boy Locsin, whom we will end with his quote again, na sinabi po niya na Bongbong Marcos should turn to the US despite its, so basahin ko para
With
malinaw.
what?
Let me just read it. While Duterte's effort to ally with China shocked the United States into paying more respect. In other words, kung hindi dahil kay Duterte, walang respeto sa gobyerno at sa mga tauhan ng armed forces and our government, ang US. So they are shocked the United States into paying more respect. The Americans, delivered neither the riches nor the security his government, Duterte, hoped for. No? So ang advice ni Locsin kay Bongbong Marcos ngayon, Marcos wasn't going to repeat that experience. So then, what's the only answer to that? Sabi ni Locsin, ang sagot ni Locsin, advice ni Locsin kay Bongbong Marcos, turn to the United States and tell them to produce. So talagang walang production ng US. And he is saying to wait for the production of the Americans for whatever goods and benefits for the Filipino people in relating with America. But as we have said, that is not going to happen because America cannot even take care of itself. It cannot take care even of its wars that it started, the proxy wars that it started. So this is an empty hope from Locsin. And in the last 2 minutes, Kaado, I think this is something we will present to the people, the whole nation in the next forum natin. We will challenge the nation to wake up to this. I think that's about what we can present today, Ka Joshua. Anything else or paalam na pa tayo?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So huling post ni huling post ni Ka Joshua, who is funding the pot-pot patriotism plot to war, proxy war, Joma-inspired proxy war, the Citizens Action Party, blah, blah, blah. Marami po yan. But today, it is centered around the Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement, PRRM, na pinopondohan po from the very beginning po ng Amerikano po yan, USAID from Taiwan, and now used to be led by the late Boy Morales, who was a former CPP, NPA, Joma cohort, turned to reform himself and join government. And the US programs like PRRM, now led by Ed De La Torre, Father Ed De La Torre, former priest, allied
5
with the
million
American
pesos, Joshua? 5 million pesos ba yan?
dollars ang ating information from the United States. Yan po ang mga pinondohan po ng $5 million, katakot-takot ng mga giant billboards, and ngayon itong apat na pong mga ships, yan pong mga usual suspects, Rizal Ontiveros, et al. Yun, si Father Ed De La Torre, yung puting-puting ang buhok doon sa gitna po. Okay, we have no more time. It's exactly 10 o'clock. Thank you very much. Congratulations to the winner. We'll see you again on Wednesday and more to come in the first week of December. Mabuhay po and have a good week ahead of you.